this is Kate from Generate Magic. So often we're holding ourselves back without even realizing it, but by being more attentive to our reactions and how we talk to ourselves, we can become a lot more aware of these patterns. And the other day, I found myself saying a sentence to myself that I imagine a lot of you have probably heard, and maybe you've said it to yourselves as well. And I didn't even recognize that I was doing it, but I realized once I caught myself just how limiting the sentence was. So first, let me just describe briefly the situation. And so I try to stay away, as I've said before, from talking a lot about other people in my life, especially kind of more personal things. But yeah, I don't think this presents her in a bad light at all. So anyway, my mother is currently out of town. In fact, she's on the other side of the country. And so I had the task of picking up some medication for her and mailing it to her. And it's a long story involving a lot of things with insurance and just all these really bogus rules when it comes to insurance. And I'm sure any of you that have ever dealt with big medical stuff or insurance stuff, a lot of you have probably experienced things like this at some point. And so anyway, long story short, the mission failed, and the person at the desk told me, they just were a real kind of stickler for it's not like they were, being mean or anything. It's just they were a real stickler for the rules. And they told me that no, I was basically denied access to this medication. And this is a very important medication for my mom. And I'm not going to go into the details. It's because it's personal, but let me just say it again, it's very important for her. And so I talked to my mom, and she said she would try a few other options, but she didn't really have much hope. And so I felt horrible, and I felt terrible for her, that she couldn't get this medication that she needed. And I also felt like a failure, like I had failed in the mission, that I had really let her down. And because there were some key parts in her instructions that I didn't exactly follow. And so I was just feeling terrible. And then I told myself, I was like, no, this isn't the end. Like this isn't going to be the end of the story or how it's going to play out. And something else is going to turn up. And so then I just kept affirming to myself one of my go-to affirmations, that everything always works out for me. And this affirmation extends to anybody in my sphere and all of my loved ones. And so a few minutes later, I get a text, and she's just from my mom, and she's just remembered that she actually had just a little bit of extra of this particular medication that was in her house. And so it might not be enough, but it was at least kind of enough, possibly, to hold her over, and so that I could send that to her. And so I went and I checked, and sure enough, it was there, exactly what she was describing. But then the next morning, I woke up to even more good news. And so she had texted me again, and she said that the insurance company that or whoever, was affiliated with all of this, they had agreed to ship the medication, the full supply of it, everything that she needed, to the pharmacy in the state where she's currently staying. And before, trust me, she had tried before, but they had just refused. Again, all these rules, and they just said, no, that, we can't do that. And again, I'm sure you've experienced this, with any sort of people, like insurance people or people that work for the government. Sometimes they can just have this tone that just kind of seems like this is the way it is, and it just kind of causes you to feel hopeless. It's very demoralizing. But in this case, it was like another door turned, another possibility turned, and then all of a sudden all of this was possible. So of course I was very happy. My parents were very happy. But I just want to say, first of all, that this just shows, right, that no matter how dire the situation seems, and even if you react as I did, I was even crying, and then I had to listen to some put on the radio, and then this Prince song came on, and then I kind of cheered me up a little bit. yeah, I mean, you can have like your reactions, and that doesn't mean that you ruined it, right? Or that all bets are off. And so there's always just kind of hold out for other possibilities. Again, no matter how hopeless or how impossible your situation seems. And then and then just kind of like taking a firm stance and being like, no, there has to be another way. And but then also, so this is the key part that I want to communicate to you. Then this other voice came in my head, and the voice said, oh, well, that would have happened anyway, or that could have just happened anyway. It wasn't anything that I did. And I realized that very sentence, right, that would have happened anyway, is, I've said it many times about many things in my life, like good things and also bad things as well, right? And so I recognize that it's a very like disempowering statement, right? And it's also just kind of like being of two minds. And so it's on the one hand saying that yes, that I am this powerful creator, and I am, kind of taking charge, right, of your life. But then on the other hand, that would have happened anyway. What that statement is saying is that life is just very chaotic, life is very random, and it doesn't matter what you do in the end. Yeah, and that we just kind of live in this random universe. And this is not to say, just to kind of look at it from this kind of view of, oh, I'm just like this manifesting wizard, and yeah, I can just wave this magic wand and the world bends to my command. So it's not seeing it that way, and it's recognizing, right, that there's a lot of things that we don't fully understand when it comes to why things play out the way they do, and yeah, sometimes it does seem like we did our best, and we applied our knowledge of the law, and things still didn't work out in our favor. Or on the other hand, it can feel like, yeah, we were imagining all the worst case scenarios, and we were spiraling and being super negative, and we still, got what we wanted in the end. So there's still kind of like this, these things that with our, at least kind of coming from this sort of linear, like 3D perspective, it's hard to fully know. And trust me, like, as somebody who has a tendency towards over analysis and like overthinking, like, I've tried to kind of like trace back the steps and everything, and it's just exhausting. And so it's recognizing that there's some things that we don't fully understand. There's some things that are just kind of happening. In fact, a lot of things, right, are just kind of happening unconsciously, right? But the more we can take charge, right, and the more we can step into that awareness that I may not have like total control. I may not be at the Harry Potter level or whatever of wizardry, but I at least have more control than perhaps I've been programmed to believe, that I've been led to believe, or that I've led myself to believe. And again, both for the good things to happen, and then, for the bad things to happen as well. And it's not judging yourself. It's not blaming yourself when not so great things happen or unfavorable. I guess that would be the best way to describe it, right? Because good and bad, it's all kind of subjective, but we all have things that we would consider to be either favorable or unfavorable, right? And so, so it's kind of recognizing, right, that I might not fully understand why these things happen, but the more awareness that I have, and the more like conscious I am, and the more I, number one, kind of align with this spiritual presence, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it spirit or source, whatever it is. And I recognize that is both within me, and that it's kind of operating in my life at ways that me, and again, that kind of limited linear 3D awareness, right, might not fully understand, but that it's there, right? And that God is always with me. And so just kind of stepping into that unification, and recognizing that even from this kind of linear, limited perspective, even just kind of using our mind and just using our sheer willpower, that we can do more than we believe, right? And yeah, I think there's a lot of power in just kind of, if you feel yourself going down a spiral, at least kind of redirecting it in a way that feels more empowering, that at least just makes you feel better, right? Because at the end of the day, that's really what we deserve for ourselves, is just to kind of feel better about ourselves. And yeah, and so yeah, just kind of recognizing, right, that it's not all random, that we do have more power than we think. And again, not power from this kind of egotistical kind of master manifester wizard Harry Potter type way of seeing it, right? But more just kind of seeing the divinity within all of us, right? And recognizing that we all have that power. And so yeah, so we're all kind of like an equal playing field. It's not like one person is like superior to another. And yeah, and just the more light of awareness that we can kind of shine on our lives, right? And the more we can kind of be consciously aware as we're going about our day, the more we can kind of steer our ship in a favorable direction, right? And so that's the message that I want to leave you with today. And also, again, that it's not, even if something seems very dire, just recognizing that it's not set in stone, right? And just holding out for the possibility that things can always turn in a more favorable direction. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.